here we are again looking at Red Rock Summit. If you want to know how I got to this point, which is just below Red Rock Summit. I actually thought it was Red Rock Summit before, until I studied the map a little more. This is Red Rock Summit. And if you want to see how I got to this point, quite a gnarly ridge, very complicated. Anyway, yeah, came up this ridge from Lovell Canyon Road, way below. So what we're going to do is go up to Red Rock Summit and then see if we can find a friendlier descent ridge. And it looks like maybe this one over here will take us down gradually, except when you get on the ridge, they're never as gradual as they look from a distance. But it looks like it could take us down fairly gradually back to Lovell Canyon Road. And what I'm going to call this is the Red Rock Summit Circuit. The last we called Red Rock Summit, but only made it this far. This time we're going to hit the summit and then go a little further and then find a way down back to Lovell Canyon Road. And just to get an idea, what we can see even from this point is there's Sexton Ridge leading up to Griffith Peak, and then across down the saddle, the Griffith-Harris Saddle up to Harris Mountain, and you're looking straight up the upper Wilson Ridge. We are on the Wilson Ridge right above Rocky Gap Road, but there's the upper Wilson Ridge, and it ends, our summits, at Harris Mountain. And as you can see, the Wilson Ridge here, it's not like the Rainbow Mountains Upper Crest Ridge line. That ridge line's friendly compared to this one. This appears to be characterized by just a succession of sharp high points to navigate. As you can see, looking ahead, Red Rock Summit, next high point beyond that. So, yeah. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a whole lot more on the Wilson Ridge, other than just come up here and look around, because it's very complicated. Anyway, yeah, you're looking at the Rainbow Mountains over here. Those light colored mountains, Rainbow Mountains. And you're looking at the Buffalo Wall area. And then down over to White Rock Mountain. Then across to the La Madre Mountains. Then over to Damsel Peak, Turtlehead Peak below, and then, yeah, tracing along the Rainbow Mountains. Let's see what we can see. Here is North Peak. And you can see the very tip of Bridge Mountain beyond North Peak. There it is, that light colored mountain. And maybe we'll see it better from Red Rock Summit. It's about 200-300 feet above where I'm standing now. And then over and over to, there's Rainbow Mountain. And then just south of Rainbow Mountain is Mount Wilson. Then continuing along the Upper Crest Ridge line, I believe we're looking at Indecision Peak. Long ridge that ends in a peak. And then over in this direction, we're looking across Rocky Gap Road to where the Wilson Ridge continues, and you can see it's just as steep and cliffy on the other side of Rocky Gap Road as it is on this side. And then in the distance beyond is Potosi Mountain. And then over here, this bluff. This is what I call my landmark bluff. It's on Lovell Canyon Road. If I'm ever lost up in the mountains, I look for the bluff. And that guides me, helps guide me back. And then looking around in this direction, then you're looking at the upper area of this cliff right above Rocky Gap Road. Let's take a look down here without falling over the edge. Yeah, you're looking down at the Bridge Mountain Trailhead. If you've been there, maybe you recognize it. Then you can see the trail going up the hill, main trail to North Peak. Although there's another North Peak trailhead a little further to the left and down on Rocky Gap Road. And this is also, of course, the Bridge Mountain Trailhead, the main approach to Bridge Mountain. Very popular climbing destination. So there you have it, some of the points of interest reference. Here's one more, the Nopa Range. Distant beyond these rocky outcrops in the foreground. You can see it faintly. That's the Nopa Range. So, yeah, once we get up to Red Rock Summit, then we'll go ahead and look around at anything that we missed from this point. Okay. And by the way, yeah, go to the Red Rock Summit page to see how I got to this point. And this will be the Red Rock Summit Loop page on LasVegasAreaTrails.com. Okay, yeah, when you're on the Rainbow Mountains Upper Crest Ridge line, the strategy is to stay high and look for a faint trail. Well, here we're looking back where I was just standing just a moment ago, and then down the ridge that I ascended to get there, at least down part of the ridge. We'll see more of it from Red Rock Summit. But anyway, the strategy here on the Wilson Ridge is just go from high point to high point. You really can't see a faint trail now. Yeah, maybe there's something that's visible to you straight ahead that's a semblance of a trail. But yeah, it seems that you continue to follow the strategy of staying high. As you can see ahead, there's nothing that resembles a trail. So yeah, don't watch for a trail on the Wilson Ridge, at least in this area and in most areas of the Wilson Ridge. There's a little trail for about a half mile to a mile below Harris Springs Road, on the where that crosses Wilson Ridge. But other than that, the Wilson Ridge is very wild, and there's no guidance. You just basically want to have really good navigation, wilderness navigation skills, and rock scrambling skills. I haven't had to climb any cliffs so far, all the way from Lovell Canyon Road, but yeah, I've been on the edge of some loose rock ledges up here. So that's a little bit about the Wilson Ridge down in this area. Okay, let's continue on up to Red Rock Summit. We're on Red Rock Summit right now, and let's look at a few high points. There is North Peak, and behind it, Bridge Mountain. And then down in this direction, along the Rainbow Mountains Upper Crest Ridge line, this is the area right above Buffalo Wall. And here's a good shot of White Rock Mountain. And then over to Damsel Peak and Turtlehead Peak. Then the La Madre Mountains. And this is a pretty good shot over here. This is two high points on the Wilson Ridge, and right between them is what we refer to as the southern high point. And then Griffith Peak on the left, Harris Mountain on the right, saddle between, and in front, spreading out below, is a good shot of Upper Lovell Canyon. There's Harris Mountain. Then we're looking toward Trout Canyon. It's over the ridge here. Better shot of the Nopa Range. Looking down south in Lovell Canyon to the landmark bluff. And then you can see Wilson Ridge continuing across Rocky Gap Road And more faintly in the background behind it is more of Potosi Mountain than we saw before because we're higher up. And by the way, here is the point we were at just recently. That's that rocky high point right above the Bridge Mountain trailhead. And going in this direction, the Rainbow Mountains Upper Crest Ridge line is that ridge system you see. There's Mount Wilson, a little more of Rainbow Mountain to the left. And then, yeah, behind North Peak and Bridge Mountain, a little to the left, is the Las Vegas Strip. The lighting isn't the best, but there you have it. And then, yeah, you can see more of Rocky Gap Road from this point. So let's go to the edge of the cliff without going over the edge. And there's the Bridge Mountain trailhead. And then you can trace Rocky Gap Road down from the trailhead. And then let's get up here at this summit marker. Yeah, look at this. So there's the Rocky Gap Road from the Bridge Mountain trailhead. We'll trace it all the way down to White Rock Mountain. And there you have it, larger picture. Okay, so this should give you more of an image of just a frame of reference for this area. Let's trace up the Rainbow Mountains Upper Crest Ridgeline from its very northern extent at White Rock Mountain. Buffalo Wall area. Bridge Mountain, North Peak. Rainbow Mountain. Mount Wilson. Indecision Peak. And so on to the southern end of the Rainbow Mountains Upper Crest Ridgeline. Big picture. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to head over to this next high point, and potentially that would be a point where we could descend back to Lovell Canyon Road, completing the Red Rock Summit loop. Well, this isn't too bad. We're on the north side of Red Rock Summit, and looks like there is somewhat of a gradual downhill. Who knows what we're gonna experience before we get to the bottom. There's a little saddle ahead to the next high point, and You can see two ridges. There's one ridge that begins at this high point. That's what we call the upper ridge. And there's one that begins over here, a little lower. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot for that upper ridge because it looks like it's more gradual. It goes all the way down to Lovell Canyon Road. So let's shoot for that ridge and then make our descent back to Lovell Canyon Road. And where will we end up if all works out? Yeah, that's where we'll end up. Should be a little bit, maybe a half mile to a mile above where the beast is parked at the intersection of Lovell Canyon Road and Rocky Gap Road. Okay, onward. Let's see what this is like. Down we go. For my strategy, I'm gonna pretend I'm on the Rainbow Mountains upper crest ridgeline and just hug the steep edge, the upper edge of the cliffs that you see ahead. And hopefully that will create the most gradual traverse of this really broken up, gnarly ridgeline. So down we go. Wow, this section is pretty steep. A lot of loose rock, but ahead there appears to be a kind of saddle there that if I can make that saddle, I could get up to that more gradual ridge. Theoretically, we don't know for sure. So let's just see what things look like heading down this loose rock area, keeping from exposure to a fall. I just grind to a stop if I slip. Anyway, yeah. Welcome to the Wilson Ridge. Here's an example of one of the sharp drop-offs just to the right or east of this ridgeline. And this is an example of the broken up ridgeline. One thing about Wilson Ridge that I'm beginning to think is that it's characterized by numerous gaps, unlike the Rainbow Mountains upper crest ridgeline. Okay, continuing on. Okay, closing in on the saddle at the northern base of Red Rock Summit and looking up at the next high point ahead. It's either that high point or the next that's going to be our ticket to descend back into Lovell Canyon. And I can see some evidence. Evidence of people traversing this area, which is good news. Maybe we'll have an actual trail, maybe not. We don't know. Anyway, yeah, things are going well. Let's do a quick 360. Can't see a lot in the distance from here, but you can see the terrain. Very beautiful and untouched. Okay, onward. Okay, now we've got a good perspective of the north side of Red Rock Summit. And you can see how steep that is. Wow. That's what we just came down. And I tell you, if I had looked at that before I was on it, I might have decided not to take that loose rock steep slope. But actually, it wasn't too bad being on that slope. Really interesting. Okay. Rainbow Mountains Upper Crest Ridgeline, North Peak, just to give reference point. And you can see Rocky Gap Road below us, heading over to White Rock Mountain. And a great perspective of the La Madre Mountains. You can see the crescent that they form. And of course, Turtlehead Peak and Damsel Peak. Damsel Peak is the larger crescent peak above Turtlehead Peak, below to the right. And if you've ever ascended Turtlehead Peak, you feel like, wow, this is really steep. It's on top of the world. Well, as you can see, it's not. We're averaging about 8,000 to 8,300 feet on this ridge line. The Rainbow Mountains Upper Crest Ridge Line, you're looking more at, I'd say, maybe 7,500 feet. So this Wilson Ridge Line is a lot steeper and a lot higher. And a lot wilder. Okay, let's continue. Okay, next high point right ahead. And that disturbed area there almost looks like the upper area of a pathway all the way down from Rocky Gap Road below. But we don't know. I get a little closer and maybe we'll be able to tell. Because if you're going this way, you're going to continue more to the left. So the only reason you'd be on that disturbed area is if you came up from below. So who knows? Maybe there's another connection that I don't know about. Back to Red Rock Summit. And there you can see more of the approach ridge from Lovell Canyon that I took to get up to Red Rock Summit. Not gradual at all. Hopefully one of these ridges will be more gradual, and this first one straight ahead looks like it's a lot steeper near the bottom. So I'm going to see if I can get onto the second ridge behind it. And that looks like a gradual ridge all the way down to Lovell Canyon Road, but who knows. Here's a higher view of the north side of Red Rock Summit. Then over to where I reached the Wilson Ridge, that rocky area right up there, just south of Red Rock Summit, and then the descent ridge, or the ascent ridge that I took. And continuing north toward that next high point on the Wilson Ridge, north of Red Rock Summit. And this is what I mean by no trail. And this is actually much more wide open than what I traversed just a bit ago down below, where, wow, that was really thick. No openings at all. Okay, give you a brief experience of what things look like up here. And just notice how untouched, peaceful this whole area is. And remember, our goal is to get to the next ridge beyond this ridge and see if we can descend that ridge. So let's see what things look like up at the top here. Well, I've got to say, so far, none of these little saddle gaps in the Wilson Ridge look like anything friendly enough to head down to Rocky Gap Road below to the east. So let's just continue, make our way. We want to get up on top of this next ridge and then take that ridge back down to Lovell Canyon. Not sure if it's possible, but yeah, once we're committed on the ridge, we better be able to do it, or we're going to end up in the dark. So here we go. First challenge is traversing what looks like a pretty steep rocky area to get to the middle of that ridge, and then take a left and head down to Lovell Canyon. Okay, staying high on the ridge looks like it's working. No promises, but I need to get on this next ridge, and it looks like as long as I stay as far to the right as possible, and there are sheer cliffs on the other side of these rocks. As long as I skirt those as closely as possible, it looks as if I'll be able to make it up to that next ridge. There's looking back on Red Rock Summit. And now you can see the very steep ridge that I did not want to take down, although that might have worked. But this ridge here is more gradual once you get up on the ridge. So that's our next challenge, is getting up there. Okay, we've almost topped this higher ridge's rocky head wall. I think I just need to go up this way and we'll be on top, and then hopefully it's a glide down all the way to Lovell Canyon, but there could be all kinds of obstacles in between. Okay, we've topped the next high point, and here it is. And you can see the area that we've traversed between Red Rock Summit and where we are now. So now what we need to do is just head down this ridge. It looked pretty gradual from below, but a lot of rocks up here. We'll find out. The next ridge always looks better. And there's the next one. But that would put me in the dark. There's the southern high point. Wilson Ridge Southern High Point. And Harris Mountain to Griffith Peak, down Sexton Ridge, so yeah, the goal is just head down to Lovell Canyon. So here we go down this ridge. We'll see what it's like. Future adventure, I'd like to see if we go up Lovell Summit Road and hit the Sexton Ridge by the back door and maybe save some time and ascend to Griffith Peak sooner, because I always run out of time on that. So now we're looking at the Torino Ranch, and let's see if we can nail that Lovell Summit Road. I don't know. Too much glare. There we go. That's Lovell Summit Road. And then up at the summit of that road, potential ascent to Sexton Ridge, and then on up to Griffith Peak. Future adventure. Okay, let's head down. We're going to be working against daylight here. Don't want to be up here in the dark. Well, this descent ridge isn't too bad as long as you're comfortable not knowing if there's a drop off about 100 feet ahead. But so far, everything's leveled out that I thought was going to be a drop off, and you can see the ridge going all the way down to Lovell Canyon Road. So definitely picked the best ridge. Let's continue on down, and I am way down on Lovell Canyon Road, so there'll be 3 or 4 miles to traverse once we get down to Lovell Canyon Road, but hey, I can run that. Cannot run this. Okay, onward. Okay, you tell me, does this look like a trail? Or at least the closest it may come to a trail is that someone or something has passed over this ground before. You can kind of see if you look carefully. And this is what you want to watch for in the wilderness. Anything that's going to guide you along. And actually, a couple benefits. One is that it's a little easier to traverse because it continues through, it weaves through the most brush. I think we're almost getting to the end of the rocky section here. The other thing is that it just guides you down the ridge. There we're looking at the approach ridge for Red Rock Summit. There's Red Rock Summit. And here's the ridge I've been descending. And like I said, this rocky section almost, oh, that almost looks like a cairn. Isn't that interesting? But this rocky section looks like it's almost over, which would be really nice, except after the rocks, then you deal with the thick brush. So far, this descent ridge is much more friendly than the ascent ridge that I took, which you can see over in this direction. A lot of rocky areas on that ridge. This one has been fairly nice, and there's even a faint trail on it. So yeah, there's this high point up ahead, but and from that high point we'll probably see Lovell Canyon Road, and it looks like it's a lot of climbing again, but actually my experience of these is that they go a lot faster than they look. So yeah, continuing on down, just to give you an idea where we are. Yeah, there's been a lot of weaving around brush, the rocks, but not bad. It's been fairly level and the brush has been fairly open. So onward. Be interesting to see where this ridge ends at Lovell Canyon Road. Be a good future approach ridge. Well, I topped that last hill. What are the chances? It looks like I'm on a faint trail that goes down this ridge. So that's great. That'll speed things up, and then I can see Lovell Canyon below and parts of Lovell Canyon Road below us. In fact, that's where I need to be. So I'll have a 2 or 3 miles traverse on Lovell Canyon Road once I get down to it. And then there's the ridge that I ascended earlier. There's some trees in the way, but you can see the rocky bluff where I met up with the Wilson Ridge, and then over here Red Rock Summit. And we'll get a better view as we get further down, provided that things are open enough. But yeah, this ridge was the right ridge. It's really working well. And then there's looking up Lovell Canyon, Griffith Peak, Harris Mountain, Torino Ranch. So all our familiar places. And then over here, the Wilson Ridge Southern High Point. And actually there are high points further south, but that is the highest point at 8,500 feet. Okay, let's try to stay to this trail because that keeps us out of the brush and speeds things up. Here we go. Well, it got steep for a while, and then finally now it is leveled off. Yeah, there were some paths now and then, but I'd say about half the time I was on a path. At the most, half the time there was no path. So we should be closing in on Lovell Canyon Road. I've stayed pretty much to the center of the ridge, and I guess I migrated a couple ridges north in the process, looking for the path of least resistance. And so now it just feels like we're getting close to something. We're no longer in that zone where, it's very rocky, no sign of a path, and lots of brush. So a lot of things to dodge, and as you can see now, it's pretty clear. So anyway, we should be hitting Lovell Canyon Road anytime, and then it'll just be a run down Lovell Canyon Road to where the beast is parked. Onward. Okay, I came down the ridge in the center there and found a trail at the base of this hill in the foreground. Pretty wide trail. Looks like it's potentially a 4-wheel drive trail. And now here we are connecting with Lovell Canyon Road. I want to see exactly where this is because this is where I'll start the next section on the Wilson Ridge as we continue north. Almost connected to the furthest south we've been. A little more and we'll have the Wilson Ridge all the way from Rocky Gap Road to Harris Mountain. And then we go south of Rocky Gap Road. Want to document the entire Wilson Ridge. Anyway, here we are, Lovell Canyon Road. And what is an indicator of where this is? Okay, here is a hidden sign. That will not do me a whole lot of good unless I stop and look at it. It says 25930. So that's the Forest Service road this is, and that's going to be our ticket up to the next stretch on the Wilson Ridge. So for now, let's see how far we have strayed from the beast where it's parked. I think it might be at the base of this hill on the other side of Lovell Canyon Road. I don't know, it could be a lot further. Anyway, I'm gonna run it in now. Okay, closing in on the beast. And so just a quick summary, what we did is took the left ridge or the north ridge above Rocky Gap Road, and we took that up to Red Rock Summit, and then traversed, let's see, you might even see some of it up here. Then we've traversed the Wilson Ridge from Red Rock Summit to 3 high points beyond. And then on that third high point, we descended back to Lovell Canyon Road. And that descent ridge was pretty awesome. I've made a note of the forest road, so we'll start there next time and we'll continue north on the Wilson Ridge. But yeah, that descent ridge was just the right ridge. It was a little complicated in places. There were some rocky sections and some loose rock, but and there's also some brush to navigate. But overall, there was nothing beyond a class 2 type of progress, and by that I mean it was all just a walk. I very seldom had to use my hands. So anyway, yeah, here we are at the beast, and we've made what we'll call the Red Rock Summit loop.